Welcome to the EU LCS post-game lobby as we close out week 2 of the summer split. I'm Drakos, here with Vedius and Fnatic's Bwipo. You notice that normally we say a role, but for you, for the first time ever, we don't need to specify what you're doing, what you're playing, where you're going. So first question, how you feeling, man? You are now king of the bot lane, I guess.
I mean, it feels pretty good winning all the games. The funniest thing for me is that Fnatic now has 100% win rate playing me, even in the top and bot lane, even though we don't have a perfect score. So I guess that's kind of cool, but still, I'm pretty happy we got a few wins on the board. I got a really good Swain and Ryze game in, so yeah, looks good.
I mean, generally, it was a hugely dominating win from Fnatic. Yes. It was a good look. I thought maybe Vitality would be able to go toe-to-toe. I thought maybe this adjustment to you playing in the bot lane wouldn't be quite as smooth as it was. But, I mean, credit to you and to the team as a whole. This looks like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, let's explore this a little bit more, Bwipo, because like one of the big question marks is not only are you one of the newest additions to Fnatic, but you're also kicking out the king. You know, obviously it wasn't based on what we heard from Youngbuck, it wasn't okay, we're playing Bwipo now. It was like a discussion between Reckless and the team, which was like, I feel this makes the most sense. Like, what does that feel for you? Is it a pressure move because you're taking his position? Is it just a natural fit? Like, what are the thoughts that go through your mind when you're taking that kind of responsibility?
Like, honestly, as soon as the meta shifted, it came up, right? They were like, there's what? There's Yasuo, Irelia, there's Swain, there's Ryze, and there's Vladimir seeing play, and these are all champions that have way more, well, time on than Martin has, right?
Yeah.
Reckless really doesn't have the practice on these champions, and we're thinking, well, if Martin wants to play these champions at the high level, then he's going to need a few weeks. So whether or not we're going to like split the group, as in he only plays ADs and I only play the stuff, we don't know yet. I assume we'll mix it up. Though, again, I just think as soon as the meta looks like this, I think it's best to play me against early game teams.
That makes sense.
And against slower teams where the AD carries can gain more value in the later stages of the game, we're obviously going to be looking to play Reckless because at the end of the day, it's nothing to do with performance. It's just in terms of matching up against the teams. Like Vitality, we all know these guys go crazy in the early game, right? So why not hit him with something crazier?
I like it. I like that you want to fight fire with fire. It's ambitious. I think it's also good for Fnatic fans to hear that there is a scenario where if you're playing against a team that's good in the late game, or if you guys decide you want to take it to the late game, that there is that option for Reckless to come in, to play the more traditional carries. A follow-up question for you is, let's say 3 months from now we have another crazy patch, and in the support position is Swain. Will you also play support? The same goes for jungle. See, the only
jungle and mid, no problem. Support, I'd rather not. Like the thing is, I don't mind playing support. I like playing Pyke. Pyke is so cool. Pyke is great, but like, I feel like when you're playing support, you need so much communication and you need like composure, like timing the summoner spells and stuff. Like Hillsang does this really well. And I feel like every time I'm in lane with him, I feel so safe. So like that's one of the reasons like I feel like I got to perform really well is because I had Hillsang in my lane. I think he's really good. Still the best support in the EU for me, but maybe I'm biased now that I got to play with him. But he did really well.
I mean, it's a good look, and I think Fnatic's feeling pretty good that they didn't just pick up a top lane support. They picked up pretty much an everything support in this meta. Sub
it's just Fnatic being ahead of the game, you know? They're just like, we read that article about Fnatic, about the game changing more, you know, more diversity in the bot lane. Bwipo, how many champions can you play? Well, last bit, you only got to play like 3, like Cho'Gath, Sion, and Swain.
I played a Gangplank game too.
You did get a Gangplank, yeah.
You don't
and then
remember
you went
because he died of...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did.
Gangplank games were fine. It was a Cho'Gath game I was
Oh, yeah, it was the Cho'Gath. And then you went to MSI and you got to play a lot more. And then they're just like, okay, we're expanding his champ pool. And then come into this meta, it's like Ryze, Swain. You haven't actually played any Bruisers yet, though. They've relegated you to AP.
Caps is playing them. The Yasuo and Irelia, though, of course. Option for me to play him too, right?
So who's the better Yasuo though? Honestly, who's the better Yasuo?
I have to give it to Caps, right? Like he went up against, you know, at MSI. I think he made a clear statement.
Yeah, you're like, I am the worst Yasuo. I promise, Caps. Please.
No, I mean, like I can take it. I can take it up against him in terms of carrying. Like I think he's actually really strong in the bot lane, Yasuo. I mean, that's my experience, which is limited.
Oh, that's another thing, because you guys can actually swap positions too, right?
You're so excited.
Yeah, because that's the thing we've actually discussed but haven't seen yet. But even if you wanted to play Yasuo bot, you don't have to play the Yasuo. They could just put you Swain mid. Yeah. Swain doesn't change. You still play him. It's just now mid lane instead of bot lane.
I don't think we're planning on doing it, but there's an LCK team that does it. I believe it's Hanwha Live.
Yeah.
They put their AD carry on the Kai'Sa when they do the gold funneling.
Yeah.
So, you know, who knows? Maybe Fnatic comes out with a little Lucian top.
Mix it up, dude. Lucian Top is the well, it's kind of
The
int,
ultimate
sadly,
flex
it's the,
team.
The int special, the old Lucian Top. Not a great history of
Dylan's
success
favorite.
there. But speaking of your swing performance, you are player of the game, Bwipo, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Coming through.
It's a lot easier when Reckless isn't on the player of the game votes, but congratulations. Very well
Naturally, but
deserved.
laning phase went really well for us.
It did.
I think it was just after he TP'd bot and died again, like the game was just over, you know. Like I knew I was going to take this game over, even if we didn't just smash all lanes, right? Because at the end of the day, like when the pause happened, I just press tab and I see like everybody's like several kills up, a level up, and you just know the game's over. So I feel like as a whole, as a team, we played a really good game, and we got to display our individual skill over Vitality here in this game.
Yeah, it very much came through, and sadly for Vitality, it results in a 0-2 week. Of course, after week 2, despite Fnatic's wonderfully successful week 2, a rough week 1 means you're not up there, but Misfits in G2 are still undefeated at the top of the EU LCS. So looking at this, I see 2 4-0s, Fnatic now coming in hot. Who is actually the strongest team in Europe right now? Vedi. You'll get a second. I imagine.
I mean, I'm just saying, but we like people are taking us out of the equation because we played 2 gold funneling games, which were really sketchy.
Yeah.
But if you look at week 2, I'm pretty sure we smashed.
And to be fair, we heard from Cold earlier on the desk. He's like, yeah, Fnatic's the best. Playing Bwipo. Fnatic with Bwipo, best team.
He did say that.
Nice.
But I don't know, man. Misfits still look really good to me. I think we have G2 versus Fnatic next week, which is going to be really, really hype, and it's going to be a big indicator to help answer that question. But for me, I'm sorry, Misfits is still best team in Europe for me.
And
All right,
I think we get to find out later, of course, how these teams are going to actually stack up again when you guys get to play each other. And that's what I'm looking forward to immensely when we get further in the season.
Like top of the table stacked, bottom of the table is a little surprising. Though, because
I mean, there is good news at the bottom of the table. Unicorns Love, of course, one of the happier stories now coming in, getting the 2-0 week. But there are some sad stories as well. H2K and Splice really struggling. I do want to sit on the Unicorns though for a second because it does feel like we saw a really good early game from the time around. They still had some of those shaky mid-game decisions that you talked about, Vedius. But from your perspective, Bwipo, how do you feel about this team? What do you think of the Unicorns right now?
I think honestly, most of their success comes from jungle mid. I think that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah,
and honestly, I feel like one of the strengths of our team is Brox on caps, right? We saw it at MSI as well. And that makes it a little skewed for me because, you know, if you match up Exile against caps, like Exile is fine and stuff, but caps is caps. So we win there, and then I think Broxa beats out Cold as well. So I feel like oftentimes their side lanes start crumbling against us, and if their mid duo isn't strong enough to keep it up, or keep the side lanes up, then they just end up losing the game. So that's how I imagine a game against them going to go.
And it was surprising today because the 2v2 actually got a 2v2 kill onto Splice as well. So I think that really helped them because if you already have a strong mid-jungle duo and then your bot lane overperforms like we kind of saw today, then the games become a lot easier to win. So I think that the Samux performance today was surprising. If he can continue to play like that, then that's great. But I don't know if they can maintain that. So it's something to track over the next few weeks.
Absolutely is fair to say. I'm excited to see how they develop, see what they can do. There's a lot of teams at that 2-2 slot right now, so very contested matchups coming up. One of the beautiful parts of Best of One, of course, is that all those games matter. But Bwipo, look, man, we've seen a lot of highlight plays from you in the bot lane. You're making a montage reel, but your top lane highlight reel from this season isn't quite the same. Shall we take a look, folks?
Let's take a look.
What?
Now, this play, Vedius,
Bwipo!
So I'll play him really hard here, and then I don't flip immediately, and then, yeah, whatever.
The tower shot. Oh.
Do we have a cam of my face? Oh, you don't even have my reaction.
Oh, no, we
My
did
reaction was
live.
great.
We did live.
It was
We did the hand behind the head.
I'm like, ooh, you know, like I knew. Like, all right, what it comes down to is I should never like. What it comes down to is I just got hyped. He made a mistake, and I thought I could capitalize on it. And then I flashed into a turret and died level 1. And guess what? I flashed into a turret, died level 1, and I won an LCS game doing it.
That's my goal was to like bring you down just a little bit because I feel like we've been praising you a lot, we've been building you up. I want to you're still young, you're still new here. We want to tear you. You just can't. You can't be torn down. You can't be stopped right now. You're like, look, I may have died and fed and made that game very hard. We still won.
I mean, honestly, off of that level 1 play, I definitely could have made the game a lot smoother, and I think the game would have looked completely different.
Sure.
But I think making a mistake on stage is fine, and the fact that we could bounce back from it is really okay. Like,
Oh wait, that was the Baron game where you guys were like
Yeah.
10,000 gold down.
Yeah, we trust Baron,
and then you just like. So what was the cause when that was happening though? Was it just like they're on Infernal? We can just
Yeah,
do
it was basically, I'm like, from my perspective, it's like, there's no way they're giving a Baron for free. This is so dumb. You're like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. And Caps are like, just, you know, he just hits it, you know, and we're like, we're going in, boys. I guess you're the Kaisa. I guess yeah, we're just going in, boys. And apparently they did all go to Infernal, and then we go free Baron, and we knew like it was over because Varus had no flash. So I just told Hilly, you know, if this guy ever shows up on my screen,
oh yeah, and
then just give me Black Shield.
It's like Hot Wheels Sims, just like under the turret.
I'm like, give me the Black Shield, and this guy's gone. Does not play League of Legends.
Yeah, that was funny.
All right, well, you guys managed to win that. You're sitting at 3-1 currently. I do want to look forward because coming up next week, it's a fight between two of our top teams. G2 and Fnatic are going to be going toe-to-toe in our match of the week. I want to know how you're feeling about that one. You can win. You can tie up the score. I think the first thing that we have to hit, though, is that mid lane matchup. Because exciting as you versus Hjarnan potentially is on the bottom side of the map, the Heimerdinger versus the Swain, I do want to talk about the mid lane matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a while since we've seen, you know, Perkz really playing well at the same time that Caps is playing really well, and I want to see how they match up.
Right. Again, both of them played some gold funneling games, so I feel like the stats get skewed a little there. I believe G2 played 3 gold funneling games, no?
Maybe even 4.
Yeah, it could have been. I'm actually
Because
not
they
sure.
funneled on the Lucian today.
Yes.
Well, that's my point, you know. So, like, people saying he's playing really well.
Funneling,
Obviously,
apparently.
he is. They're winning the early game doing this, which is impressive, but I think the stats are a little skewed based on the strategy.
Yeah, but not even talking about the stats. I mean, to me, it looks like Perkz is
Right.
playing
He's
pretty
playing really well. So
stats aside,
it's always going to
funneling
be
obviously
interesting.
difficult.
It's always going to be interesting, especially with the meta. Yasuo and Irelia, these type of matchups really go back and forth. A lot of outplays to be had, and well, I think the past dictates Caps' favorite, but we'll find out.
That is true. Caps often does have the edge over Perkz, but what we loved was last week when Caps played the funnel strat, and then Perkz immediately did it in the game after, like to prove a point. And then not only did he break Caps' CS record, but then he was able to win in a cleaner fashion as well. So Perkz definitely had the edge last week, but we've seen more versatility from Fnatic now with the introduction of Bwipo down bot.
See, the thing is
and only
you
really
say-
one style from G2.
You say more versatility. I see one style, but I see a man who's willing to funnel Lucian. He's funneled Kaisa. My question is, what won't he funnel? Is there a limit? Are we going to see a Tryndamere funnel? I don't even know if that's possible. Is Master Yi finally going to show his face in the EU LCS?
Ooh, the
I don't know, man. The thing is, how do you guys feel about going up against a funnel strat? Because you played it twice. It didn't work out as cleanly as you would have liked. But I imagine a lot of teams in Europe do have strats to try and shut it down.
Of course. How I personally feel about it is the top laner, the enemy top laner isn't playing with a jungler.
Right.
Now G2 actually roams around a lot and makes sure that their early game is good, so that's like an interesting take on it, which has looked pretty strong. But I feel like if you get one really good play on the sideline and just make sure whenever the Braum is missing, because you get so much information. That's the thing. It's not necessarily they don't play with a jungler. Like the Braum can move around and stuff. It's more that you have constant information. You have a stream of information. You know, it's not never the Braum disappears for 2 minutes and he's just farming the jungle. You don't know where he is. You always have an idea of where he is and where he's moving.
Right.
So if you can attack the other side, I really feel like you can exploit the strategy. But oftentimes they're drafting these sidelines that are really robust with like a Karma or a Heimerdinger or a Ziggs bot lane that just takes care of the minion wave, and you find him at the tier 2. You know, not even at tier 1. He's at the tier 2 already. So I feel you need to be very coordinated, and you need to be fast. Like, you need to get the play in, and once you do, I think the strategy starts to crumble, because if you have a stronger side laner that can move into the mid and stop their gold funneling strat from fighting you, I feel like they have to give up too much.
That's fair.
So here's my question for you. We've talked about this on the podcast this week, Vedius, and I think everyone is kind of talking about funneling right now in this capacity. Like, do you think that this strategy is the most powerful strategy currently in the meta, or is it just kind of another one in the playbook that teams can utilize?
I think the strongest part of the gold funneling strat is that you can always pull it out in draft. I think it gets strongest when you either force the enemy to ban certain champions to make your draft better when you're playing standard, or you pull it out at the end of the draft. You know, it's like you make an entire draft and then you like randomly flex like a Swain, for example, in the bot lane, and then you just slam Kaisa instead of, and you're like, oh, we thought it was Swain mid. So I feel like if you have the versatility to play standard and funneling, it is very strong. But if you're only committed to playing funneling, I think it's worse than playing standard.
That's interesting to hear, because draft has been such a big discussion point, and I'm curious how you guys feel like it from the Fnatic perspective. Do you feel like you have a good grasp on drafting at the moment? We talked extensively about the flexibility that you have in the team, but is there like a greater science
See-
here that you have an understanding of?
In my eyes, the way in which Fnatic draft is, we'll have this champ, this champ, this champ, this champ. Okay, who wants to play what?
It's
And
literally,
then-
it's literally a Venn diagram for
Yeah.
prior picks. It's like, let's put all 3 champion pools next to each other, and then whatever's in the middle here where they
we
all
just
meet
we'll
up,
pick all of
those
them,
are called
and then we'll
priority picks.
Yeah.
Honestly, like probably not too far off. I don't want to say too much, of course. But at the end of the day, the champions that have most versatility are the best ones, right? That's
Yeah.
always been the case. And the thing is, right now in the meta, champions like Yasuo, you don't see him play too much top lane, but both in bot and mid lane, he's really strong. Like
Yeah.
he just has all-around solid matchups. Same goes for the Irelia.
Agreed.
And this champion does go top lane, and then the Swain again has the bot and the mid lane.
We've seen very limited Aurelia top recently, though. I feel like she's primarily been in that same Yasuo
Yeah.
category just because of the stuff that we do see up in top. But you are right, there's always the option available.
Exactly, which makes it scary because she has a few really bad matchups in the top lane.
Yeah.
Matchups people have or haven't picked. But in mid lane, there's no real matchup where you're like, I can't even farm. You know?
Yeah. I
And
agree.
that makes her mid lane really strong because her team fight presence is huge.
Yeah.
But
What about Lulu, though? Because, like, Lulu was a champ we saw loads, like, pretty much all over the world for the first week. And then this week, at least in Europe, it feels like that she's gone down a little bit in priority. What do you think about her right now?
I think Lulu's fine.
Yeah.
I think she matches up especially into the Vladimir well.
Yeah.
But he's not really been showing up either
That's
until
true.
last pick. Was like, for example, we took the Rise into it, which is also a good matchup. But I feel like Vladimir is just, he's like the scaling variant of the not 80 carry picks. And I feel like at that point, you'd rather just have an 80 carry.
Yeah.
Unless you have a matchup that you can specifically pressure with Vladimir, which is kind of uncommon. I don't feel like people are going to blind pick a matchup where you're like, oh, I can pick Vladimir here and have pressure.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this whole discussion, right, is that Champ Select is very much like a cocktail right now. At least this is how it was described to me when the Summer was starting up again. And it's basically now, there are some champs that are generally safe blind picks. Like Mundo, I think, is one of the best examples. You can just pick him. But outside of that, you then pick a champion that you think is strong. Someone then says, it doesn't matter what position, they go, I know this champ is good into this champ. So you then pick it. And then someone else on the other team says, oh, but I know this champ is good into this champ. So because we can flex this champ, let's move it down here and put this matchup instead. And it's just a wealth of ingredients of people being able to play everything. And you just try and match up the best possible matchups for you while making the worst possible matchups to the enemy team.
I love this description, but it has literally nothing to do with
because you get
cocktails.
a blend of everything in your
What? Every
beverage,
draft
and then
is
you
a blend
shake
of
it up,
Oh my
and you
God.
don't know what you're going to get at the end.
That's
It's
not
just,
how you make a
It's
cocktail.
a mixture. What are you talking about? That is a perfect cocktail.
You don't know what you're going to get at the end?
Yeah, because you just,
Yeah,
I'll have a
that's
banana,
pretty
I'll
rough.
have an apple, I'll put some strawberries in.
What are you mean? Okay.
And now I have the perfect
Your
cocktail
pers-
champ select.
All right,
Bwipo
anyway.
gets it.
I know.
All right, so I want to come back to the main point, which is G2 versus Fnatic. I want to lock in some predictions. Vedius, I want to start with you because I imagine your prediction will be pretty predictable. But talk to me about this matchup. Where do you see opportunities for either team to go ahead, and who do you think is going to take it?
All right, so I think Wonder is the best top laner in Europe right now, and I think that on a carry, if he was to go up against Soaz on a tank, there are many ways in which they can build advantages through the top side of the map, and I do think that Bwipo made a good point in that they do bring Wonder to the rest of the map as well, so they don't just leave him isolated. They actually utilize him as a resource, and I think if they're going to find advantages, it will typically be through the top 3 side. However, I feel that Fnatic overall as a team just feels very versatile. The fact that they can draft pretty much anything and put it anywhere, I think is their greatest asset right now, and that is why I think they'll have the edge over G2, and Fnatic will be the team to win.
All right. Is there anything you want to add, Bwipo? Do you want to disagree?
First of all, for anybody that remembers Spring Split, the final, I did say I was the best, but apparently now I'm a bot laner too. So
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do you rank up against, just real quick, as a side note, I know we've been talking about you a lot, but anyway, you came in, #1 top laner, self-proclaimed. Are you now the #1 self-proclaimed bot laner?
No, I don't think so. Not bot lane yet. I don't know enough about the lane, but to come back on the top lane thing, there's a chance you see me in top lane when you just play with Reckless too. I don't want anybody to count out
That's
that we're
true.
not playing Reckless, right? Like, sure, our success with me was really good this week, but that doesn't mean our success can't be better with Reckless.
And that's a lot of pressure on Hjarnan as well, because he has no idea what he's going up against. I feel for that guy. That's difficult. It's like, I'm playing mages, or am I playing 80 carries? What's it going to be? A lot of pressure there.
That's a big question, but this is it. This is the Fnatic versatility that you have now. Fnatic, I imagine, haven't even decided what they're going to run next week. There's still a lot of time to plan and prep and figure out what the best strategy is, but I am looking forward to the game. It will be an excellent one. And yeah, it will be definitely tune in because it'll be a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to next week. But now looking back throughout the week, you guys took to Twitter to send in your LCS big plays. Here they are, brought to you by Acer Predator. First up, the big hero and Unicorns of Love first win of the split was their jungler, Cold. James789 said it right. What an amazing, beautiful Baron steal.
Use 2 teleports to get back into the pit. Cold is still very far away from this Baron. This could be Giants securing a huge objective.
Ruin popping the blast cone. Only Samek's there to try and harass them, but the Baron already down to 4,000. Cold is incoming. They shouldn't see him just yet, but they have to know he's going to be there. Ruin goes around the side. The Baron's still going low, and it looks like Ruin flashing back into the pit, but Cold, he has one chance to go over the wall, and Giants are not keen to give it to him, but they're basing some time, and it's going to get stolen! Cold says, nice to meet you, and thank you very much!
Try jungle with you. I can kill him.
I TP.
Okay.
Oh, look, come in slowly.
Look for steal as well.
Come in.
Look for steal. We can fight maybe after, no?
I can TP in 2. Yeah,
They're
okay.
afraid. I can always
TP
steal
him.
them.
Yeah, we try join them.
I got it.
Nice.
We can kill Udyr.
Yeah, we can keep fighting.
I mean, wonderful steal, but
was good.
watching that game back, I have to wonder, is this like, ooh, brilliance by Unicorns of Love, or was it a little bit of a throw on the out? It felt kind of like a big Baron leash when I've watched it back like 3 times now.
Well, I think what I recall when I was casting the game was that Giants chose not to reset. They actually just camped in a lane, which is why they were able to find a pick onto the Ziggs, I think. So they used numbers advantage to go to Baron, and they were like, well, we can just rush this down and force it, especially with Cold still back in base. And then they thought they could kill it fast enough, and they could not. With all those TPs coming in, they should have just immediately disengaged. They stuck around, went for a gamble, and it unfortunately did not pay off.
You think sick play by Cold, or maybe a little lackluster play on the opposite
I mean,
side?
honestly, like watching that play from my top lane perspective, Camille went over the wall and he flashed out of the pit. When I think if he could have flashed after Ziggs, he would have one-shot Ziggs, and then his team could have just gone over the wall with him because there was no more damage left.
Yeah.
Only Sejuani and Pyke were there, right? And with Triumph, I think they would have just wiped them all, and then it would have actually been a good play. But I feel like he just really choked there.
But they just gave the spotlight to Cold, and he just went
Yeah.
over the wall, and he was like, I will take this. Thank
Look,
you.
and those are those moments, those are those opportunities you have to capitalize on.
Yep.
Of course, the next play in spring, Rockhat lost the longest game of the split against Vitality. Yesterday, they wanted a bit of revenge as they set up one final fight in their base.
Perkz goes in, Perkz goes out, he gets swallowed up by Wadid, and there goes the knockups all across the board between the Ornn and the Braum, and they just come right back stronger than ever. Perkz has found Vizichachi, and he is making him look like not a tank at all. So with Vander about to fall down, Nuke Duck desperately trying to get back to his base. That's the triple kill for Perkz. This looked clean as clockwork, maybe a minor hiccup, a cog in the machine, a quadra kill. Perkz decides, you know what? I'm gonna get this one. You better let me have it. Down goes Vizichachi, and the penta for Perkz.
But like, he will not get Penta. He will not get Penta.
Okay, Lucas, sorry. Lucas, sorry.
Come on, like you inted it.
My first Penta.
Really?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes, I'm
okay,
happy.
Then I'm playing Braum again then. Pentakill.
Oh, nice.
But it is reported, by the way.
Okay, 2 things. One, you thought you were getting a replay. You weren't. You're getting a different play. It's a pentakill. Appreciate that pentakill. It was sick. Also, favorite part about that is Yankosko never playing Braum again, by the way.
I heard him constantly say, he's not getting a penta. We're not giving him a penta. End the game. And he's just like, no, he's so tired of playing. We heard him in the interview earlier as well, being like, I love playing League of Legends right now. It's so much fun. It's so boring. Please stop. I hate Braum, but I love the game. Like, I'm having a lot of fun, but please stop. No more Braum. Please, no more Braum.
I feel him.
What do you mean you feel him? You get to play Swain and Rise.
Imagine if I had to go bot lane instead of Reckless and play John. You know, I would really, really go next.
All right. I'm going to try this one more time. Gentlemen, in spring, Rockhat lost the longest game of the split against Vitality. Yesterday, Perkz got a pentakill, but Rockhat wanted revenge. Let's take a look at their revenge in this one final fight.
and make this one a 3-0. Here comes the Vladimir. This is the desperation fight for Rocket. Will they find it? Jack Troll, he's going to get stunned up. The damage, it's not quite enough, but they're still making moves. In goes Blank, but he gets knocked to one side. However, Norskaren is going to be able to get the finishing blow onto Jack Troll, but Vitality turning it right back around in a 4v5 scenario. Kabushard, there's a Darius falling off. Not enough damage, and the dunk is denied. Roccat still lead the charge, and that's going to be one Blade Surge and a second one, and Blank is coming up big on this.
Hey,
Doris.
My ulti bind.
Okay, look,
Oh,
look,
I
look.
can cancel.
One health.
Hey,
Nice.
defend.
Can we
Hey, we
push?
can finish game top.
Push
I
top.
think just push top, no?
I'm holding
You
Alistar.
gonna.
I'm holding
Ignore,
Alistar.
finish, 5 seconds, 5 seconds.
I'm holding Alistar.
Finish.
I'm holding Alistar.
Good job.
And then.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love Norskaren so much. Bless his little Norwegian heart. He is freaking out. He's losing it at the end. I can't blame him. But that game was so odd to me. I mean, shout out to Roccat for stalling it as long as they did. But they started so good. It petered off in the mid game. At the end of the day, though, it feels like when you get Vladimir and Aurelia in a late game team fight against some champions that aren't maybe as well equipped. You're going to watch that last play from Blanc where Aurelia gets to dash like 7 times consecutively. And you go, is this balanced? Is this a balanced champion?
I don't think so. I mean, we experienced it at MSI. First game
Yes.
for the RNG semifinals, we got the Vladimir Aurelia right there and then. And we knew back then, it's no balance.
Yeah, dude, that's a strong combo.
Yes.
I do want a quick hit on Vitality. What did you think about their performances this week? Obviously, it was 2 losses. Do you feel like they're playing the same way they did prior?
It was bad. It was bad League of
Insightful.
Legends. Like, I think twice now we've seen them sacrifice early game leads, and then when they don't have early game leads, they do falter. I think the best way to describe Vitality is they do not like losing gracefully. They recognize that they are behind, and they continue to throw things at the wall. And against Roccat, it worked really well because they would just group and fight, and they would just force Roccat into situations that they didn't know how to handle it. Whereas when they grouped and fought Fnatic, Fnatic sat there and said, okay, we'll group and fight too.
All right, I'll to go in, whatever.
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
go.
it was also when they made TP play on Meek bot when we were going top, and they like make a really desperate TP play on me. It just, you know, like instead of just trying to counter a play we're making, they're trying to make their own play, which is sometimes good. But honestly, I felt like it was constantly forced on us, and we were willing to take the fights. We were stronger than them, and the only thing we needed to make sure is that like there was one period where Soaz had TP down, where we were just like, okay, let's just calm down for a bit, and they tried to make a TP play in that window, and I just flashed out. And it was really free. Like.
And I think that's the bit that's missing from Vitality. If they just rein it in a little bit, I think it can be improved a lot. But right now, it just feels like that they're just constantly, we have to make moves proactive. And when it works out, they look very clean. They have really strong early games. But when it doesn't, you have 10 kills at 10 minutes, and it doesn't look as good.
Yeah, game blows wide open. Very, very dominant performance for Fnatic. Of course, we're going to see how Vitality improve as we move forward. Week 3 is just around the corner, coming up next Friday, starting off with Roccat versus Giants. Of course, exciting schedule. You'll notice the last match of the day of particular importance, but we've already hit that one briefly. What else stands out to you guys? Interesting matches. What are you most excited for other than your own match?
Feel like Schalke versus Misfits should be kind of interesting. I think that maybe Schalke can show up and show some things, because Misfits did show some weakness in closing out the game against Giants. I think they overall do look like the strongest together with G2, but I think that if Schalke have a good game and Chachi steps up, because I feel like the first game he played this week was really,
Yeah, we literally
really
saw
poor.
both spectrums of Chachi this week. We
Exactly.
saw Chachi the carry and, well,
All right, last week I did it. I'm doing it again this week. I'm making a bold prediction. UOL will beat Vitality next week.
okay, so hold on. The deal here is you have to shake his hand,
Oh,
on
I have
it,
to-
otherwise he'll
I have
back
to
out.
shake
I
my
can shake his hand if you're not comfortable,
Oh,
but
that's
just
fine.
hold
I
him
will
to
bet
that.
on.
I mean, I don't think that's that crazy, to be honest. I really don't think
You
it's
want
a
to
bold
try again?
statement
You
at
can
all.
try again.
No, I think,
That's not bold enough.
because when you think about UOL and the fact that they started 0-2 and Vitality looked extremely dominant, maybe after Vitality's 0-2 week, maybe it's not as bold of a prediction, but I do think that UOL should be able to take a game off Vitality.
Sure, I think a bolder statement is to say Schalke will beat Misfits, but
Yeah, but I don't believe that.
I mean, I don't believe it either, but I think it's possible. Like, again, I think they showed weakness, and if Misfits don't get the leads they do early game, which even against us, they needed an early game lead to really close out the game, they're beatable.
All right, I'm excited to see all of those games. Of course, Fnatic versus G2, our match of the week. Additionally, Schalke versus Misfits. If you want to make a bold prediction, predict Schalke. Or if you're Vedius and you want the easy out, your bold prediction, is going to be Unicorns of Love taking down Vitality. Now, if you can't tell, someone might have scored in the World Cup. As you can hear, our German crew's very enthused in the background. So if you're watching the match, shout out to that. We won't spoil anything from you. But now, if you're a League of Legends fan and you're not interested in the World Cup, or maybe you have 2 monitors, you can watch both, because the NA LCS is about to start with Counterlogic Gaming versus Team Liquid. And of course, if you missed any of the games from the EU LCS, we'll have a rebroadcast after the action in Los Angeles. Double screen, folks. World Cup, League of Legends, the same time. It's the future. You can do it. Well, that was all from us here in week 2. Thank you. We'll see you guys next Friday for more action in the EU LCS. Have a wonderful night.
Chachi, Upset, and Vanda do not give a damn about your invade. They do not give a damn about your damage. They do not give a damn about your health bars. Betsy kills Hansama though and nukes a lot. He's low in the midst of this all as well. Corner the forward, the engage onto Stillback branches. But Drakos is coming in, and that's a double for Maxwell. They know Betsy is here by himself. The knockup, there's Corner Forge God as well. Bad Betsy, man, that was quick. The Misfits 4-0 in the first 2 weeks of the EU summer split. Here comes the teleport in from nice. as well. There's the flash kick. Sharon jumps in as well with the Void Assault. That's one. Now they look for Hernan underneath the tower. Smitty J can't land the counter strike, but Hernan still under the tower is going to get caught out. Smitty will solidify this kill. Great stuff from H2K.
I killed you too.
Okay,
Kill it.
I died.
As much as he can, still only sitting at an item and a half on that Kaiser. Not fun.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Hextech Ultimatum is issued. Challenge. Samex has an answer, and it's get wrecked. Xerxes, he's shut down in the Baron pit. Auto One is going to get killed as well.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Down bottom is Vedius and Bwipo. Look for the engage. Ghost Water time goes forward. A flash forward. Demonic Ascension explosion. Fnatic kill bottom. Fnatic kill top. Fnatic kill Vitality. Not done yet. Fox stopping. Bonus skewer manages to connect to Cabo. He's locked in place. The Pillar of Ice comes out. Here comes Jactrol trying to interrupt, but Fnatic are diving and chasing and killing Vitality. Fnatic falls short of the 1 kill a minute, and they don't care.